everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of But I Digress. We talk about films that we have seen, media that we've experienced, and along the way we'll get pleasantly distracted. So I remain Stanley Tatum, aka Unsolicited 577 on YouTube. Welcome, and we are here with the ever reliable, always mighty, the killer of sheep, Zeke the Freak.
Zeke the Freak. What's going on, everybody?
All right.
I'm the author of the Ananda Accords, and you can check that out on Amazon, but you'll find all that out about later.
So here, we over the weekend saw Captain America: Brave New World. Actually, probably one of the Marvel movies in recent memory that I really had anticipated, that I was really anticipating going to see. Post Endgame, probably with the exception of Black Widow, the Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and a couple of others. I actually saw the Marvels as well. I know Anthony Mackie is a reliable and dependable actor.
Yes.
Seeing him, quote unquote, assume the mantle, and to take over in spirit, uh, you know, to embody Captain America.
Right, right.
Whereas, and I know in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, he went through his journey, but I really wanted to see, now going from what we saw on a streaming series to what we can see on the big screen, and does Marvel sort of like match his ambition with this? Is it well worth it? So, what were your feelings?
Going into it, first hearing about it, I was just kind of like, not sure. Again, like you said, after Endgame, there hasn't been a lot of Marvel product that was really, out there, really doing it for me, except for maybe Guardians 3. That was really good. That was not good. It was pretty damn excellent. And I'm one of the few people who did like most of Doctor Strange Multiverse of
Okay.
Madness. It has its problems, but I thought that they took some big swings. And again, like I always tell you, I'm not against creatives taking big swings. But then when I saw the trailer for this, I was just like, oh, okay, this could be good. This could be really good. It looks like they're going back to the tone of, let's say, Winter Soldier.
Right.
And so it was like, okay, we can work here. There's something we can work with here.
Yeah.
Now the result remains to be seen, because there, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that more.
Yeah, I think, just putting it out there, and I know just throughout sort of fandom and just where we are in terms of people who are creating content, uh, we hang on every frame that's in a trailer or in a teaser. We also are now, we pay attention religiously to, sources, to outlets that talk about like reshoots, that talk about there may be, comings and goings of people, or somebody being added to a cast, somebody leaving, a director coming in, a director leaving, things like that. And, it because we're also so hypersensitive, that can also sort of like skew our feelings of what, when the end result comes, or it may actually prejudge us and just say, you know what, maybe this film
Right.
just isn't worth
Right.
it.
Right.
Personally, and just to do it briefly, I was entertained. I, for what I saw, and to see, just what the conflict was, and then also just how everything was resolved. I was like, okay, if I was a layperson who was just sort of like, oh, let's go see Captain America, I think on a very basic level, I enjoyed that. I
Right.
think one of the things that I appreciated was that while there is a fair amount of exposition throughout this film,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
I thought that in some ways it summed up things. I didn't necessarily have to go and see, like, look at all the episodes of Winter Soldier. I know they
Mm-hmm.
reference
Mm-hmm.
Elementals. They reference the Incredible Hulk.
You mean think
Yeah, Eternals. I'm sorry.
Eternals,
Yeah,
Eternals.
Eternals. I'm sorry.
Ooh, I
So
would love an Elementals movie. It's overdue.
right, but just have I know it references both of those films. This is the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk,
Right.
and I thought that okay, I wasn't there's plenty of exposition, but that didn't weigh me down. It sort of gets you up to speed as to where you are, and then I think even some of the dialogue where Anthony Mackie and Harrison Ford go back and forth, where you're able to see sort of like how they reference Civil War without actually like showing any like
Right.
footage or just having something long. It's just a brief exchange. And even if you didn't see Civil War, you have an idea that there was, that there
There
was
was
conflict
tension
between them,
between them.
and
Right.
yeah. So
Right.
I thought that was good. I thought you take a look at. I think Anthony Mackie is very comfortable. I think he's comfortable in his skin as Sam Wilson
Mm-hmm.
being Captain America.
Right.
Now it's just not about him just having the shield, which was bequeathed to him by Steve Rogers, but it's also having a custom outfit and a custom sort of like costume that suits his needs. So it's
Right.
sort of like he's I wouldn't even call him a Captain America variant, but he now has his own stamp. The shield is there and it's still universal, but the wings and everything else is
Right.
is is,
It's
is
his own
solid.
stamp on it. Right.
Hmm.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hmm.
I agree. For the most part, like you, I too was entertained. I thought the pacing was solid. They did a
Hmm.
good job with the pacing. I
Hmm.
thought the action was really thrilling.
Hmm.
The aerial battle with with Captain America and Falcon
Hmm.
versus the fighter jets and
Hmm.
the missiles. I thought that was really cool, even though it was a CGI
Right.
scene. It was shot really well, and I
Hmm.
thought the fight scenes, the
Hmm.
grounded fight scenes, were shot really well. We didn't have constant cutting. There was
Right.
some, we had long shots of,
Hmm.
blows being thrown, and I thought that worked really well. All to me, all the fight scenes I was there for, and
Hmm.
they did that well. You mentioned the exposition.
Hmm.
The exposition was too much. It was ridiculous.
Hmm.
If you've seen these Marvel movies, you know what's going on. But I'm pretty sure the exposition was there for the normies,
Right.
and so I need a normie to tell me if they needed that exposition or not. They may have. They may have.
Hmm.
Um, uh, I gotta wait and see when my wife sees this if she says the exposition is too much. But
Okay.
as a person that has gone into all of these Marvel films, the
Hmm.
exposition was too much. It was weighed down. You even had like stupid dialogue because of it. It was just
Okay.
like, oh, I need to call Betty, my daughter, and he says this to his chief of staff, and it was just
Right.
like, I'm pretty sure your chief of staff knows who Betty
Hmm.
is
Right.
in relation to you, but
Right.
that was for
Hmm.
our benefit. It wasn't even for our benefit. It was for
Hmm.
the normies' benefit, and there was way too much of that.
Yeah, I think that okay, if you followed the Incredible Hulk, if you follow the Incredible Hulk, then definitely yes, you know who Betty Ross is.
Hmm.
Uh, but at the same time, and I'm not saying that okay, maybe because I've with the old animated series, and then even the two films that we've had with Eric Bana and
Edward
Edward
Norton.
Norton. So
Hmm.
you do know who you do know who some of the players are in regards to that
Right.
in regards to the Incredible Hulk.
Right.
So that's fine. But yeah, I can see where that's a bit sort of like clunky and it may induce sort of
Hmm.
like an eye roll. I think, and this is me because, some folks, and this is not, not to say that I've been influenced by other people who've reviewed it, but I think that the reshoots in some ways you could tell that yes, they were probably coasting along, figuring that this was solely for uh, Marvel fans who are sticking around and waiting for to
Right.
see how this will lead into the
Right.
next film. But I think this is also something where the Marvel execs have really, maybe they've just had their come to Jesus moment where it's sort of like, no, we can't rely on solely like the hardcore Marvel fans,
Right.
and especially
Exactly.
with the amount of money that they've been spending,
I can see
where
that.
it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, we've gotta bring folks in, and we've got to bring people in uh, who are not, who are not Marvel heads, who are not, just
Mhm.
maybe just want to see some action, maybe want to see
Right.
just sort of like an action film, and just sort of like not necessarily turn their brain off, but just don't want to be hit with so much stuff as to lot like, oh,
Right.
is this
Right.
something I would have needed to see, and just sort of like knock, knock, knock. Oh, this is something that you need to be aware of. So,
Right, exactly. And
mhm.
and I don't have a problem with the reshoots. I think a lot of people and a lot of reviewers and a lot of commenters need to get away from the fact that reshoots are necessarily a bad thing. There's a negative connotation to reshoots, and I don't think it's not always the case. It totally depends on the
Right.
film, the moment. So a film having a ton of reshoots might be for the better. It may not be for the
Mhm.
worse. Hey, sometimes you see a thing, a shot doesn't work, a line doesn't work, a setting doesn't work, and you got to go back and reshoot it. The fact that this had a ton of reshoots, it's not a CGI heavy movie, but it's a CGI movie. It's going to have that. That's just the nature of the beast now. So
Right.
people knocking it for the reshoots, I just don't buy that anymore.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think that anything that can sort of help a film, as long as it doesn't financially cripple it, because
Right,
you figure, we've heard about sort of like cost ballooning to a point where, if you're to believe, what's been said in terms of how much the budget is now, like the film will need to make like, have to make $1 billion in order to break even. And I'm sorry, it's just not that type of. It's not an Avengers Endgame. It's
right,
not it's not a film like that, or yeah, it's just not a film like that where you're going to do
right.
it. It's really, and I hate to say it, not to say that it's sort of a placeholder holder. I wish it was just sort of a standalone,
Yes.
just
It.
another, I won't say another Captain America adventure, but a Captain America adventure. Maybe you
Mm-hmm.
have some things that will segue you into thinking is like, oh, this whole talk about them, wanting to reform or create a new Avengers team. Fine, that's that. But do we really need to start worrying about, spoiler alert, another multiverse?
Right, exactly. And I think this was the problem with the release date of this film.
Mm,
Because it was supposed to come out before what was it? It was supposed to come out before Thunderbolts was supposed to come out before this, and
okay.
it really wasn't supposed to have anything to do the way I'm hearing it with the multiverse. But
Hmm.
they seem to be bent on, hell bent on hitting us over the head with the multiverse. Multiverse characters are coming. Multiverse characters are coming.
Hmm.
This was probably supposed to come out before Deadpool and Wolverine,
Okay.
since they're crying about the multiverse so much.
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's not who this Captain America is. That's
Right.
I'm like, he's not a cosmic spanning character. He's not a space faring character. He's
Hmm.
he's more grounded, and I like that about this movie, that for the most part it took a serious tone. Yes, it dealt with the celestial body in the Indian Ocean, so-called celestial island. But the
Right.
serious tone was a good way to bring us back to the days of Winter Soldier and
Hmm.
and Civil War. And I
Right.
thought they did a good job at that. Yes, what's his name was Falcon was funny in certain
Hmm.
spots, but the serious tone took us away, grounded us, and
Hmm.
we didn't need any references to the multiverse. I thought that
Right.
that was not a bad idea, but just not necessary because that's not who this character is.
Yeah, and I would also say that, because of that, I thought that, spoiler alert again, the end credit scene, I thought
Hmm.
was it was a bit flat.
It was
Uh,
flat. Yeah, it
it
was
was
flat
I
because
mm,
we know about the multiverse. We know we if the fans know about it, we've had the multiverse incursions already. So
right.
why what is the leader and spoiler alert, the leader, what is the
Hmm.
leader telling us? He's
Hmm.
not telling us anything new.
And granted, I didn't realize that the Incredible Hulk was that long ago.
Yes, 17 years, crazy.
My God. And just to digress, one of the things that I really enjoyed about that particular film was, obviously Tim Roth is who ultimately becomes the Abomination, and how they set the leader up.
Mhm.
You just see them,
In
you
that.
see the head, yeah, you see the head swelling, and it's just sort of like, okay, cool.
Yeah, the leader's coming.
Yeah, he's coming. So, but ultimately, once you see him there, and it all just being about sort of his revenge on Ross,
Yeah.
for Ross just being a an opportunist. Uh, I think the only thing that's sort of like straight line that's direct about him was his sort of dislike and hate for Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and then also how he felt about the original Avengers team,
Right.
not having sort of like the control that he would like, or feel that they should be under government control. So, I just look at it that as sort of like, okay, that's fine, but ultimately letting it just come down to revenge, and especially for a character like, like the leader,
Yeah.
and especially with the way that he's dropping all of these like the probabilities, or statistics in regards to, what would happen. This is the things that
Yeah.
this is what it determined. It's like, okay, you know what? If he's that far, if he's that far deep into it, then let it be about something. Let it be more about manipulation.
Manipulation. Yes, manipulating Ross
Hmm.
to be a pawn in this bigger
Right,
game that's coming.
right.
Yeah, the fact that it just came down to revenge was kind of lackluster.
Hmm.
Um, the leader ended up being kind of lackluster. Yeah, yeah, they caught him and he can always escape. That's fine. But the leader is much more of a manipulator than what they portrayed. And
Right.
the makeup for the leader was terrible. I
Yeah.
mean, it was very bad. Not as bad as MODOK in Quantum Mania bad, but it
Hmm.
was pretty bad, and it was just like, guys, you can do better than that. Just give him the big head.
Yes.
I like the big head leader. That's it. I know
Hmm.
that there's images of the leader where he's got the big head and he's got the bumps. Well, he's got like the brain, but
Right.
it should look
Right.
like his brain is coming out of the brain
Right.
case. Dude, use that image. I'm like, the image is right there. What is this
Hmm.
like bubbling? Bubbling. That's
Right, right.
silly.
I mean, I have to wonder whether they were worried about, folks looking at just like, oh, is he Megamind? Is this
Yeah,
is
yeah,
this the
and
sort of
and
like crossover?
I could see a
Mm,
studio exec being worried about that, but I'm like, where do you think Megamind got his image from? He
right,
got it from the leader.
right. So, but yeah, it's I thought that was a bit of disappointment. I thought, and this we're jumping back and forth and all over the place, but this is what we do.
Hmm.
Bringing in Giancarlo Esposito, and referencing, like you had said, the Serpent Society.
Right,
I'm like, okay, well, it would have been cool, since we're now post Hydra, post Endgame, to have sort of like another organization, and
right.
especially with Captain America being more of a grounded type of superhero. Why not bring in the Serpent Society?
Yeah,
This is a criminal enterprise that you're dealing with. So
right.
why not have them, and just give them the opportunity to prove themselves? But I guess the execs felt that it just wasn't it wasn't big enough. And if that's the case, if they're feeling that they're not big enough, then what is wrong with making Captain America Brave New World, basically Falcon and the Winter Soldier season 2.
Exactly, exactly. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And again, fans know the Serpent Society.
Mm-hmm.
Fans will be fine with the Serpent Society. From what I you that video that you sent me today,
Mm-hmm.
um, basically they talk about leaks of the original script, and the original script, like you said, it was about the Serpent Society, and it was
Mm-hmm.
about them having their powers too, or their
Mm-hmm.
abilities. It
Right.
wasn't just Giancarlo Esposito being Sidewinder and just being a
Right.
merc assassin.
Mm-hmm.
They would have had their powers. Why would you not think we wouldn't want to see that? We want
Mm-hmm.
to see that, or like you said, just have it be this huge criminal organization, sort of like going, but I digress. Black Adam. In Black Adam, he's fighting Intergang.
Yes.
Meanwhile, no one in that Intergang had powers. They had tech.
Mm-hmm.
They had advanced tech.
Right.
So I was like, yes, and Intergang, that is kind of their thing. Like the high level members of Intergang, they have
Mm-hmm.
powers, but the regular level of Intergang, they have, apocalyptic weapons
Right.
that they use.
Yes. Until they become
Dude,
cannon fodder.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all you had to do with the Serpent Society. Serpent
Mm-hmm.
Society could have gotten their hands on some what was that, the Chitari weaponry from
Mm-hmm.
the first Avengers. Like how in Spider-Man Homecoming, those
Mm-hmm.
guys, basically the Sinister Six, had their hands
Right.
on Chitari weaponry. There
Right.
could be other Chitari weaponry out there. There
Yeah.
could be weaponry left over from Thanos that
True.
people could have.
Mm-hmm.
The, and the Serpent Society, they manipulate it into like their different snake motifs.
Mm-hmm.
Easy,
Right.
easy,
Right. Right. So,
not
I
hard.
just look at that and you just wonder, not necessarily we can talk about what could have been, but my issue also is that we had gone from, Sam Wilson being the Falcon, big screen, uh, in Infinity War and then Endgame, and then you've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier on streaming, and now we're vaulting back up to a feature film,
Hmm.
and it's not necessarily that I'm hating or saying that it's like, okay, why would we just go back from streaming and now you expect people to physically pay money to go see, Captain America, this version of the Captain America on the big screen. uh, I just felt that, okay, and I'm sure the execs felt that the story needed to be much bigger, but yet I think can keep you can keep a sense of scope, but have a very compelling villain. And I didn't
Right,
necessarily
right.
feel that outside of, yes, Ross turning into the Red Hulk,
Hmm.
you have something like that. But still, it's I think there are definitely some missed opportunities there. I think that this goes back to sort of like, I don't know how Marvel is sort of like plotting things, or what their strategy is, but is it just about sort of like content for, is the content just connected? Is it something that where, they're expecting everyone just to go through any type of sort of like media outlet, whether it's Disney Plus, whether it's the big screen,
Right.
whether it's something that actually be on, like traditional network television? Is this their goal?
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, they need a Disney Plus section. It's like, here are the things we're gonna
Hmm.
do for Disney Plus. This is the level that we're gonna do for Disney Plus. This is the level we're gonna do for movies. And
Right.
if we want somebody to vault from Disney Plus to the movies, we have to have a springboard in that show to vault them to that.
Right.
And that wasn't
Okay.
here. Um, I mean, again, there could have been, Isaiah Bradley was supposed to basically be on a mission with them in
Hmm.
the original script. that could have been like a good jumping off point. Patriot, they could have gotten into Patriot,
Hmm.
Patriot or Super Patriot. Isaiah Bradley's grandson. Where was he? You
Okay.
introduced him in Falcon and Winter Soldier. He's nowhere to be found here.
Okay.
It's the assumption is that he has super soldier serum in his blood,
Hmm.
just because of bloodlines.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. They could have done a lot. There's a lot of missed opportunities
Hmm.
here. Um, too little of Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder.
Hmm.
Too little of the Red Hulk. Basically, it's the last like 9 minutes of the movie,
Right.
9-10 minutes of the movie. Um, Whoever the marketing department was for this movie should
Hmm.
be fired because re- revealing the Red Hulk in the trailers and the commercials is ridiculous. If you're going to play up in the movie that like, oh, what's wrong with Ross? What's
Hmm.
wrong with Ross?
Right.
Every fan knows, every Marvel fan knows that like this is the way of General Ross,
Hmm.
and maybe the normies don't know that, but the Marvel fans know this. And then you give it to us in the trailer. That's dumb. They we
Yeah. There's
should have
no.
that should have been totally kept a secret. Him turning into the Red Hulk.
Well, yeah, that could have just been a case of okay, you know what, we've made this film, with all the reshoots and things like that. We need another draw. We need something to really hook people in, uh, because one point, while we already knew that the Red Hulk was going to be out there and it was going to be a part of the film.
Hmm.
I had to wonder, and with the medication that Ross was taking, I was like, okay, is this a suppressant?
Yeah,
Is it just sort of like, okay,
but it
this is
was the
what this man
opposite.
needs,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
to hold it together,
Right.
you know?
I was thinking the same thing. It was some kind of suppressant to keep the Red Hulk in. That he is already the Red Hulk,
Hmm.
and that he's keeping those pills keep him in.
Just again, not totally like, hating on the film. I thought it was again entertaining.
Yeah.
What I enjoyed, the rapport between Anthony Mackie, uh, Carl Lumley as Isaiah Bradley, and God, what was his name? Was it Danny Ramirez?
Danny
Uh,
Ramirez. Yeah.
yeah, Danny Ramirez, who plays the new Falcon. You may remember him, folks, as a fanboy from Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah.
So I
and
have
he
to
was
say,
in and he was in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
oh yeah, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
right in
Yeah.
the early
He
episodes
shows
you
up.
see him
Yeah.
as well.
Hmm.
So that's, hey, you don't have to grow your hair out. Just put on a different uniform and
Yeah.
just keep that trim and you're good to go. It's nice to see everybody who is involved in Top Gun Maverick, all of the supporting characters having some sort of come up.
Yeah.
Where with that, what that film has meant for them career wise. I think you take a look at Monica Barbaro. She was in that Bob Dylan flick that was up for Oscar
Hmm.
nominations. You see, what is it? Tarzan Davis, who played Coyote. He's part of the Mission Impossible films.
Hmm.
So he's going to be, and he'll be in the Final Reckoning as well. So, and then you've also got your boy who played Hangman. He's been getting a whale's worth of work. I think between him and Cynthia Revo, folks are working overtime to make sure that they get work and they get noticed. So I think a
This is
lot of people
good.
believe that he has it. So let's just see about
Yeah, let's
what
see.
what he
And
can do.
and I thought he did a very good job. The chemistry between him and Anthony Mackie very good. Anthony
Hmm.
Mackie was very good in this movie. He
Hmm.
he he held his own. He is a lead. He
Hmm.
deserves to be a lead. I
Hmm.
saw some knucklehead comments saying he can't carry a movie. He can carry a movie. He
Right.
carried this movie well. The
Hmm.
issues with this movie are not issues with Anthony Mackie.
Right.
He held his own with Harrison Ford,
Yes.
and Harrison Ford, surprising. You would think somebody of Harrison Ford's caliber would, sleep through this movie. he did not sleep through this movie. He was
No.
there. He was present. He
Hmm.
came. He did his thing. He was very good as Ross. I mean, he's stepping into the role that
Yeah. The
William
role of
Hurt
William Hurt.
vacated with his death.
Hmm.
And he did a damn good job. And he and in the rage moments, he sold it.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford sold it. And this is I don't know if you watch Shrinking on
I
Apple
will.
Plus, Apple
I will.
TV.
Okay.
One, I love that show. The show is hilarious. If you
Hmm.
like Scrubs, you will
Okay.
like the show. It's the same. It's the same people. It's the same
Okay.
creator. And Harrison Ford, he plays the crotchety old psychiatrist who should have retired years ago, and
Hmm.
he is hysterical. He is hilarious. You're like, oh my god, Harrison Ford doing comedy. Where has this been all my life?
Right.
And because Harrison Ford is the consummate professional.
Hmm.
You give him a role and he goes in there and he kills it. And I thought he was great as Ross. And the camaraderie, not camaraderie, but the chemistry between him and Anthony Mackie totally worked. And I think that was with the actors throughout.
Yeah.
Same thing, bringing in Carl Lumbly and
Hmm.
the actress who plays Sabra, even though they never called her Sabra. That actress,
Right.
her last name is Haas.
Hmm.
She's good. She's in a TV series called Unorthodox, where she
Okay.
plays an Orthodox Jewish woman who
Oh, is
decides
that the
to
one who
leave the
goes
religion.
and she goes to Germany?
Yeah, she goes to
Yes.
Germany to
Yes.
find
Okay.
her
I didn't
mother.
realize that
Yes,
was her.
yes,
Okay.
yes, that's her.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
and that role blew me away. That
Hmm.
series, Unorthodox, blew me away. So I was just like, I knew she was gonna come to like,
Yeah.
and I liked it.
Hmm.
And yeah, everyone worked well together. Same thing with
Okay.
Tim Blake Nelson. Even his scenes with everyone, solid, solid. So
Hmm.
the acting, not a problem. There was
Right.
no overacting, no, Giancarlo Esposito, he chews scenery, but that's what
Hmm.
he does. That's why
Right.
you like him. And
Right.
he was great, and there was not enough of him. I wanted more of him.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, in some capacity, I know he had expressed interest in not only being a part of the MCU, but having sort of like a
Yeah.
significant role.
And
If there.
apparently so did Harrison Ford say that, like,
Mm.
if you want me back, I'll be back.
Hmm.
I'll be let me know.
Anything but Han Solo at this point.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
anything
He
but Han
slept walk
Solo.
through that role.
Yeah, well, you know what? But what I thought was interesting. Oh my God, we're gonna talk about Rise of Skywalker. Han Solo showing up to Kylo Ren before Princess Leia dies, force projecting Han Solo as opposed to herself as a
Right.
way to reach him.
Right.
I thought it was good, and I thought he underplayed it. I just think that there's just that point where yeah, it's it's just like, okay, look, y'all are in trouble. I'll help you. This is almost like Paul Newman coming back to work with Irwin Allen. Well past when like when time went out was just going to be trash, but you just do it as a favor.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know,
like, we're pals. I'll be
yeah,
back.
exactly.
Don't
It's like, yeah, I
worry.
got you. Just where to stand. Just tell me where to stand and just give me the dialogue and we'll go for it. But yeah, I think that yeah, consummate professional, Harrison Ford, and I think again, he's not playing a two-dimensional character or what he feels is a two-dimensional
Right.
character in
Right.
Han Solo. So if you got a chance to just go in and act, and especially at his age, right now, I mean, he's
Yeah.
what, early 80s?
82. It's
Yeah,
82.
man. It's interesting to see people who are, or in some ways who are carrying like this. And
Right.
you've got him, you've got Morgan Freeman, Denzel's in his 70s. A lot of folks said, and this is another thing that we have to come to grips with. I think Carl Lumley's got to be in his 70s as
Yeah,
well.
he's got to be up there too.
But I think we're now, especially for some of us who came up through the 70s and 80s, this is the reality that we're faced with.
Yeah.
Where
Our greats
yes, our
are up
greats
there.
are they're these silver lions,
Hmm.
and it's just sort of like you need to if you still want to see them, these are sort of like the roles that they're going to be taking, and that's how they're going to be entertaining us. It's not, you're not going to see them with, with the machine gun and
Right, right,
just with one arm,
exactly,
and
exactly.
and a knife in the other, just sort of
Hey,
like taking everybody out. But
even Stallone has to have like a full crew with him on
mhm.
Tulsa King, getting into fights with him.
It makes sense. It makes sense. There's a point where, yeah, you lose your suspension of disbelief. I mean, I hate to say it, with the Equalizer 3, you just see just how sort of like efficient they make Denzel.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
it,
exactly. It's
it's
like three moves and the
Yes,
and the bad guy's down.
right. So, but again, making our way back to Brave New World, uh, entertaining, good.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that I know who saw it, they really really enjoyed it, and some of these were like, really like Marvel heads.
Right, right,
What I'd like to see moving forward, especially if this is successful, really make, okay, and I know they're going to be, if they're going to be working towards building the Avengers, that's fine. But if you've got a film where it's Captain America as the headliner, keep giving us stuff like, the Winter Soldier, keep giving us
right.
stuff like Brave New
Exactly.
World or
I was
something
just
like that,
about to
something that's
say
a bit
that.
more
Mm-hmm.
grounded and intimate.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't we touched on Anthony Mackie in terms of the action scenes, but we'll talk about Sam Wilson doesn't have the super soldier serum. you
Mm-hmm.
know Here he is, just sort of like he's in peak physical condition. You have to wonder, just sort of, will there come a point where the serum has to become a necessity?
Right, right.
Where it becomes sort of, is this just sort of like the next step, where it becomes more of it becomes a has to,
Right,
you
right.
have to, you
That
know
was one of my problems with this film, that he's getting into fights, he's getting into battles, and
Mhm.
he's getting hurt.
Right.
But then a couple of scenes later, he's okay. I mean, there's the scene where Sidewinder stabs him in the side,
Yes.
and then he like is back patching himself up with Joaquin,
Right.
and Joaquin is like, and he's ready to go back out there looking for
Hmm.
Sidewinder,
Right.
and Joaquin's like, "Wait, you got stabbed inside?" And he's just like, "Oh well, it was like a fiber mesh weave, Kevlar weave that protected
Hmm.
me." But no, you weren't wearing your suit then. You were wearing just a t-shirt then. So
Right.
what? You walk around with Reed Richard unstable molecules the whole time, all the time? Come on, come on.
Hmm.
That was ridiculous. And you can see that they didn't want to deal with the fact that he's not a super soldier so much. Yes, he was just like, "Oh, I'm hurt." Like in the fight in the church,
Right.
he was like moaning, groaning, and bleeding, and his
Hmm.
ribs may have been broken. But then later on, he's okay. He's working through it, and no one mentions like, "Cap, are you trying to work through this, or
Right.
I gotta work through this?"
Hmm.
And he's doing. I don't have a problem with him doing flips and jumps and all of that, because he's got the wings. The wings, some people online were complaining about that. I'm just like, well, he's got the wings. The wings will assist in that. And then
Right.
somebody complained about the scene where he jumped down to the ground really fast and waited for the
The
sonic
sonic
boom
boom.
shockwave, and
Hmm.
people complained about that. But I'm just like, I'm fine with that, because he's got the vibranium wings and this vibranium in his suit. So
Hmm.
that's not a problem. It's, to
Right.
me, it's the injuries. Him getting, we should have had him getting injured and fighting through his injuries, not um um he's getting injured and then like he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah, I got stabbed last scene, but I'm dealing with it. We're okay." No, it should have been something. It should have been an ongoing thing, and then maybe somebody suggesting, "Oh, maybe you should try using the super soldier serum, and he's saying, no, no, it's not about the super soldier serum. It's
Right.
about the man behind the star, behind the shield.
Right. And at the very least, you need to have sort of like one of those Bruce Wayne moments. I
Yes.
thought one of the best parts about Justice League is where Wonder Woman just looks at Bruce and she's like, "You can't go on like this forever." And he looks at her, he's like, "I can't go on or I can't go on like this now."
Yes.
Where you would just yeah, you've got to bandage up, you've got to carry yourself, and this all has to take a toll. So
Hmm.
I just say that if there's going to be another film, I think that's something that would be a nice arc that they should address. It's just sort
Right.
of like, hey, look,
Yeah.
you have reached, or you are sort of like at the peak of what you are as just as a regular human being. You're at your physical peak. You're a soldier. You have technology aiding you. However, the individuals that you are going up with now, you have to look
Hmm.
at this as an arms race. And even beyond just sort of like what it means ethically, what it means to sort of like his fans and his supporters, ultimately is like, no, this is, if you're going to carry this fight, this is going to be sort of like something
Right.
that's necessary.
Yeah. It's sort of like I don't know if you read that comic arc in Legends of the Dark Knight, where basically the venom serum that
Okay.
Bane uses,
Yes.
Batman experienced that before Bane.
Oh, really?
Basically, I forget who was the creator of the Venom serum. It was
Mm-hmm.
out there. Bruce Wayne finds out about it, and it's supposed to be like the early days of Batman, like Batman Year One, Batman Year Two.
Okay.
Um, and Batman basically is like, "Oh, Venom, man, it makes you stronger and faster and more durable
Mm-hmm.
and more resistance to pain. Maybe I should look into that." And him and Alfred are like, think about and so and Batman takes Venom.
Mm-hmm.
He takes the
Okay.
Venom, and this is before there is even Bane.
Okay.
I don't even think Bane was created as a character yet.
All right.
Not sure. That needs to be checking, but he basically takes the venom, and Batman is beating the shit out of people and taking punches even better than he normally would.
Okay.
And but it's affecting him psychologically, and that's why Batman decides to stop taking venom. And
Mm-hmm.
then basically the formula for Venom gets out there, and eventually Bane gets his hands on the
All right.
the formula for Venom, and that was the storyline. Like, should I? Batman's like, maybe I should enhance myself,
Mm-hmm.
and then he tries it, and he's just like, this is not for me. I,
Okay.
I need to do this as me as a peak physical human being.
Specimen, right.
There's your next
Mm-hmm.
Captain America Sam Wilson film.
Yeah, I'd say, and especially, and okay, if they're gonna form a new Avengers, just you're looking at the level of play, just
Mm-hmm.
being raised, and he's going to have to meet it, unless you're just going to have him sort of, back on the Shield helicarrier, sort of like directing the action, and I don't think that's going to happen.
No,
So
no, that's
yeah.
not gonna happen. But
Hmm.
you mentioned earlier about and I guess keeping with the how do they go forward. Um they need to get political. They need to not be afraid to get political. Those great Captain America stories
Hmm.
were of the 80s and 90s
True.
were the ones where the story got political, where Captain America was tugged between left and right and center and up and down also. Those were the stories, and basically Captain America trying to tell people on either side of the spectrum that Captain America needs to represent everybody and be a force for good for everybody. And I think the movies going forward should address these political
Hmm.
ideologies, both left and right, extreme here, extreme there, and not be afraid. I felt Brave New World um, was kind of like, a little scared to like get too political. Yeah, you had a war brewing between what, three countries that are not ever going to go to war.
Right. Right.
I'm like, come on, that's kind of a cop out because
Mhm.
if Japan found adamantium, they're gonna be like, okay, yeah, here's some for you, and
Mhm.
and the same thing with England. It's just like, yeah, here's some adamantium. Are my allies, and same thing with us. We would like. No, the United States would like dominate the adamantium market, but those three countries wouldn't go to war over it. And I kind of like didn't buy that so much. I'm like, it should have been China, but I get it. They want to sell this movie in China.
Right.
So they don't want to, nobody wants to offend China.
Mhm.
And this should have been the Russians, but nobody wants to offend the Russians, especially those on the right don't want to offend the Russians these days.
Right.
So it's like it was kind of being, I don't want to say coy, but being too weak in wanting to be political. I'm just
Right.
like, be political. This
Yeah.
for this to be grounded and grounded well, it needs to be political.
Right. It's time to sort of like take chances
Yes.
and not necessarily falling back on what's worked previously. And this just goes for all sort of like Marvel films. It's one thing where you can pick things and just say that, yeah, for Captain America, I think that you need intrigue.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes.
need you need that kind of, whether it's political intrigue or whether it's espionage, things like that. Then
Yep.
I think that's great. You stick with that, but you can't just sort of rely upon sort of just what's worked overall for Marvel in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say this because now that this film is done, I know we're waiting for Fantastic Four. We're waiting for Thunderbolts, which I think I will probably go see because it's. I'm not necessarily saying it's like Marvel's Suicide Squad, but I
Right.
think that there were enough personalities in this
Right.
where,
To make it interesting.
yeah, to make it interesting. So we'll have that. But I guess my thing, and it's not necessarily fatigue for me. I just remember how I was towards like the late '80s, where all right, we had already gone through what Contest of Champions,
Mm-hmm.
Secret Wars,
Mm-hmm.
the Infinity Gauntlet. What else? Then we wound up to what, Secret Wars 2.
Yeah, there was Secret Wars 2.
And you
Uh,
you you have all of these like huge crossovers. Like, so now I got to buy five comics in order, 5 comics a month, as opposed to
mm-hmm.
just sort of like one where they really only have just sort of like two panels related to that overarching story.
Right.
I don't want that with the next slate of films.
Right, exactly. Exactly. Sam Wilson does not need to be a part of the multiverse. The multiverse saga. He could just be in there. He doesn't have to be a major player in it unless he's going to be the leader of the new Avengers.
So, you know what? On that note, I think we've wrung out as much as we can about this.
Yeah, I think so. So what's your overall view of this movie?
I enjoyed it. I am still of the belief where they could have stayed on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I think they could have. It could have been a nice season two of Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
Yes.
even if you called
Yes.
it Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Yes.
8 episodes to really like flesh things out.
Right. Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
going with this being a season 2. Yeah, I mean, if you took away the majority, if you took away maybe the final fight between Cap and the Red Hulk, and you took away the big battle near that big aerial fight near Celestial Island. Yeah, it would have been a nice Disney Plus level series for season 2. Basically, the only thing that bumps it up to uh, movie level is are those two scenes, and one was too short.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Hulk fight was too short. We needed more of the Red Hulk.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why I liked it. I enjoyed it. I was entertained.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's worth a matinee. If you want to wait and see it for like half price or early day price, then yeah, then money well spent.
Right.
It's not like that huge movie where it's like, oh my god, you got to go see it.
Right.
It's not that.
Right. This is just something that just Marvel needs to truly address in terms of how it wants to move forward
Hmm.
with its various characters. You know, who should get sort of like I won't say the IMAX treatment, but who should get, sort of like who really needs the theatrical release?
Right, right. Who
Who needs
needs
the
the
theatrical release and
theatricals? Who
who
does
needs to be
not?
on
Yeah,
streaming?
exactly, exactly. Some of these ideas they're having can stay streaming. Totally
Hmm.
fine with that.
Yeah.
They're doing great things streaming on Disney Plus. I still haven't started it yet, but I'm hearing great things about Star Wars Skeleton Crew.
Yeah, it's
You've,
fun.
yeah, you've watched it.
Yes.
Okay, good,
Yeah.
good, good.
So
Yeah, I mean, and it's got Jude Law. Jude Law's the star. He is a movie
Mhm.
star,
Right.
but this works for Disney Plus.
Yeah, but and again, and if you're worried about whether you can get going back to Captain America, if you were worried about bringing Harrison Ford into the mix for a streaming series, I mean, isn't he part of like the whole like Yellowstone?
Yeah, yeah.
He's on Apple TV
He's
doing
yeah.
folks
1923.
will do this.
Yeah,
Folks will
exactly.
do this if you can bring them in and
With a damn good
they'll do it.
project.
Right. Right, and they'll definitely, add life to the project, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you won't find anybody just sort of, you won't find people phoning it in. They
No,
understand the
no.
assignment.
Exactly, exactly. You will not. There is enough respect about streaming with actors these days and studios these days that you will get good performances and good writing. I mean, good writing has been in television, I'd say, for about the last 10 to 15 years or so. So, I
Okay,
mean, television has the better writing than movies right now because television, going back to the idea of taking big swings, television, streaming, they're willing to take big swings. Movie studios, still not so much right now. So,
right. They're playing it safe. They're
right,
definitely
right.
playing it safe.
So don't be afraid to put this stuff on streaming, Disney Plus or whatever. Uh, but like I said, there were only two scenes that kind of like bumped it up to like, okay, that's a movie
Right.
in this film, and the rest would have been fine on streaming.
Mm. Okay. Yep. All right. So we will leave it at that. I hope everyone is well. Hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found this informative and I won't say educational, but you found it worth your while. And we always thank you for your time. You always could be someplace else watching someone else. Uh, and that's
Oh,
that.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm, unsolicited 577, wishing you good well.
And I'm
A
Zeke
good
the
night.
Freak. Peace.
All right. Peace.